Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I hope the topics that we have covered till now, till session 6, are cleared with everyone. If you have any question, please do use the SFDC Facts forum and post your questions there and have your doubts cleared. So, uh, let's start with a recap of session 6. So, what we have learned in session 6, we have seen the components of rent a car application. So there are 9 components which are there in rent a car application. We have had a look on all of those 9 components and their usage. We have seen how to comment your code in your markup file, that is your .cmp file, and your js files, that means your controller and helper files. We have also created our car tile component, which is basically used to display car images along with their owner name. And the main topic of yesterday was to fire and handle custom component events. So I hope that this particular topic is cleared with everyone. If it's not, please, I would say, go to developer.salesforce.com to uh, get do a deep dive on this, and you can watch the video again, which is available on the YouTube. But please uh, uh, clear this concept before we move on further with application events, because custom components, again, I said it yesterday as well, is the core of Lightning framework, because without these your component will not be able to talk to each other, or we can say interact with each other. Then we had a look on our car search component as well, since it's a parent component of 3 other components. So that is one of our main components, which is only being used to handle the events which is being fired by other components. I think I can take a question for the next 5 minutes. Please ask your questions now.
Hi Manish, this is Ishant.
Mm-hmm.
Manish, I yesterday's session I was able to execute successfully, but I have a question regarding inheritance, which we
Okay.
implemented in session 6. So
Okay.
while implementing that, actually, I made the base component that I mentioned that extensible equal to true, and
Mm-hmm.
in the child component, I mentioned that uh, it was that extends equal to true. But
Okay.
even then, when I was actually trying to use the helper function using
Mm-hmm.
that helper dot that function,
Mm-hmm.
I was getting an error that helper is not defined. So
This one?
I
Okay, I
yeah
got it.
yeah
I got your point. So two things. So you are getting the error helper is not defined, right?
yes.
Okay. So two, three things that you need to check. So there must be some typo mistake with your helper. So do check in your get car type function definition or signature. Do check if it's all small letter. If it's
Okay
correct here, then do check it here as well, from where
okay
you are calling your base components call server method. If
hmm,
it's correct here as well, then go to your controller file of car
hmm,
search form,
hmm,
and from here also you are passing this get car type, and here you are passing component and helper, right? So
yes
do check if it's small case letter here as well, and at the do init method as well. So
okay
do check it here. There must be some typo mistake that you are doing, because
okay.
again, so lightning is case sensitive, so you need to take care of all the cases here.
Okay. And one more thing, Manish,
Mhm.
we were actually passing 4 parameters from that helper function to
Yeah.
call the base component. So
Yeah.
one of them was callback, that function response component dot set v dot car type from a response.
Yeah.
And inside that helper function, we were actually using one of the function callback dot call
So you are talking about base component here right now.
at line 11. Sorry, at line 12. Callback dot call.
Okay. So this one you
So
are saying, okay.
yeah. So I did not understand that from where we get this call function and we were actually using this comma response dot get value.
Okay. Okay. So the callback that we are getting in this call server function, it's
Hmm.
basically a function, right? That we are passing from our inherited component. So if you
Hmm.
see in your inherited component, here you are passing a function, right?
Yes.
So
Hmm.
once you get the call back from your server, or once you get the response from your server, you
Hmm.
need to call this function in return, right? This
Yes.
function. So
Hmm.
how you can call that? You can leverage the JavaScript call method, which is the like a standard method in JavaScript. So this is using this call method, you can uh, call any method which is being defined there. So here callback is our function which
Hmm.
we are passing from our inherited component. So how
Hmm.
to call this callback function? You can use this another call method which is a standard JavaScript function. And
Okay.
in this, we our function is expecting a response parameter. So that's
Hmm.
what we are passing here. Response dot get return value.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Manish. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move ahead with our today's session. So this is the agenda for today. First of all, we will be having a look on the grid layouts. What is the layouts that Lightning framework follows, and what is the concept behind that? And the second thing, we will be checking our car search result component. So let me go back to our component definition again. So these are the 9 components inside our Rent-A-Car application. We had a look on car search form, car tile, and car search component till now. But today we'll be developing this car search result function as well, component as well. So this car search result component is basically used to iterate over your car tile component. So your car search result function will have all the results from server. So let's say if it is fetching 8 cars from server, so it will be iterating over 8 times on your car tile component, and it will be generating the markup like this. So we'll be having a look at this. Basically we will be completing this search functionality today. So from tomorrow we'll be looking at the right side component that we are seeing here. Those are like car details and car location, but this part we will complete by today itself. Third thing is, we have seen how you can call your parent components controller action using events. So yesterday we have seen component events. So from your child component you can fire a event, and that can be handled in your parent component. But today we'll be doing vice versa. From your parent component you can we will be calling our child component section. So the method we will be using for that is aura colon method. Then we'll be modifying our car search component again. So this is the parent component of all those 3 components that we have seen till now. We'll be modifying the code to handle few more events in this particular component. Then we'll be having a look at ternary operator. I'm sure you most of you guys are already aware about ternary operator since it's uh, being used in every programming language out there. Then at the end we will be completing this car search component completely, and we will be having half of our application running by today. The lab exercise we will be doing today is developing our car search result component, then using a lightning colon layout. We have already used it, but today we will be uh, checking our size attribute. So just to get this grid layout concept clear. Then we'll be using aura method to call our car search result component section. And the fourth exercise will be about ternary operator. And in the end, again, we will use few component events to complete our car search component functionality. So this is the agenda for today. So let's move on. Now, understanding the grid layouts. So the grid system in Lighting Design System is based on the Flexbox. You can Google what is Flexbox. So it's like the CS3 CSS3 layout mode. So in this, what you can do, you can divide your screen size with a number. So in the example, if you are seeing, so I have divided my screen with size 12. So what it will do, it will divide my complete uh, the screen size or horizontal screen size in by 12. And then I can define like how I want to see my component in small device size or medium or large. So small device size will be like your mobile phones. So you can define like how much space your component should cover on when it's being rendered in a mobile device, and if it's being rendered in tabs like iPad or tabs, then you can define like how much space it should cover of your complete device size. And third is your desktop, so large device size. So in this example, let's say we have divided our screen in 12, uh, what we can say, uh, boxes. And out of those 12 boxes, if you are seeing it in small device in your mobile, so only two will be visible, because every box will be consuming six boxes to render. So every component will be consuming six boxes to render, so at a time only two will be visible on the screen. But if you'll be rendering it in your tab, then if you divide 12 by 4, then three components will be visible at a single point of time. But if you see it in your desktop or laptop, then you can see four components at a time horizontally. So this is how you can leverage lightning colon layout item, and you can use size attribute. So the purpose of size attribute to divide your screen size. And then we have three other different attributes for specifically for your mobile and tab and your desktop browsers. We'll be seeing how to use this in today's exercise. And let's have a look at our car search result component as well. So if you see this highlighted column here with red, so this is our car search result component. It again has one child component, which is car tile component. We have already completed the markup for car tile component yesterday. Today we will be iterating over our car tile component to uh, display all the car results that we'll be getting from server. Now, the first lab exercise will be car search result markup, and it will include our layout attributes as well. So lightning colon layout as well. So let's start with first exercise. Let's go to our developer console. Let's close all these files. So this is the component that we'll be completing today, car search result component. So let me explain the markup of this component. First of all, again, you can ignore this implement section. You can implement whichever interface that you want. The meaning of this force colon app hostable is just to make your component available as a lightning tab. So you can host this component as a lightning tab. Now again, I'm extending our base component here just to use inheritance. Then we have our server side controller as well, which is car search controller. So this controller will be using to fetch all the cars belong to a particular car type. So this is the purpose of the server side controller. We'll be having a look at the code later on. So now we have three different attributes here for different purpose. The first attribute obviously will have all the cars that will be coming from server side. So it's like a car object array. So it will have all the car records that we are getting from the server. The second attribute is the car type ID. Now this car type ID we will be using just to fetch all these cars belong to this particular car type ID. So if you let me run the application just to show it what we are going to do. So once you select sports here, the sports car type will have a ID. So we'll be using that ID to get all the cars from server. So this is why we are having this car type ID attribute here. Then we have another attribute car found. So we'll be making it true or false based on the results fetched from the server. So let's say if you are selecting compact here and there is no compact car available at particular time, then it will say car found equals to false. So there is no car available. So that is why we are having this attribute. Then again, we are handling our init event here. We'll be having a look what we are going to do in init. Then now this is the lightning colon layout. So let me explain the attribute here. So I hope you are using this suite dot application. Please do use it, as I'm as it explain all the out of the box component very well with examples. Do use this one, but for now let me explain the attribute values here. The multiple rows will allow it to display your results in multiple rows, so that is the purpose of multiple rows attribute here. Horizontal align center means it will align your component in center horizontally, that's it. Now again we are having our aura if condition here. So why do we have our aura if? So let's say if there is no car found from server, so what we want to show, we can simply show like no cars found. So we have our else attribute in our aura if condition. So what in else what we are showing, no cars found from server, that's it. But if such cars are found from a particular car type category, so what we want to do, we will be having all those cars list in our cars attribute here, and then we will be using our aura colon iteration. We had a look on this one in session 1 or 2, I'm not sure. So the purpose of where attribute here is to define a temporary attribute that can be used to iterate over all the records which are available inside our cars attribute. Now in this one we are generating a lightning layout item every time for each and every car that is being fetched from the server. So in this layout item, first of all I have given the padding. So padding you all know, so just to give some padding around the border. Then I have divided this component. I've defined the size of the component as 12, and I have given the small device size as 6, 4, and 3. So what it will mean? So if this layout item, these cars are rendering in your mobile device, then at a time only two cars will be visible on the screen. So since we are seeing four cars here, so if you will render this, if you will run this application in your mobile browser, you will be seeing two cars at a time here. So this van and the second one, this Hyundai Accent will be visible, but the rest of them will go to different rows or multiple rows. If you render it in your tab or iPad, so at a time three cars will be visible at the screen. Since if you divide 12 by 4, so there will be three cars will be visible. And then in the end, if you display it on your desktop browser or laptop browser, you will be seeing four cars as we are seeing here now. Then after that I have given a simple expression here just to display the car name that is being fetched from the server. So this is all about the markup of car search result component. I hope it's clear since we have covered all these concepts in our previous sessions. Let's have a look at our markups. So first thing what we want to see, what we are going to do in our doinit event. So let's go to your controller file. So in our doinit event, what I'm doing, I'm simply calling on search function of helper method. Why I'm using helper method here? Because what we want to do, as soon as your component gets loaded, we want to fetch all the cars which exist on your server side and which belongs to a particular car type ID. So that's what we are doing in our doinit event. Let me check who is unmute. Yeah. Okay. So let's go to our helper file here and let's have a look at on search function which is being called from our controller file here. In our on search function, what we are doing, we are using our inheritance here to call our call server function of base component. You all have all of you have already implemented this call server function, so we will be using it again today since it's a generic function and we can use it from anywhere as long as we are inheriting the base component. What we are going to do, first of all, before explaining this line of code, let's have a look at our server side controller as well. Our server side controller name is car search controller. Let's open this file. Okay, so we have one function here which is aura enabled. So this aura enabled will make your function available for use on lightning components. Here this function is accepting one car type ID which will be getting from your component. And then based on this car type ID, if this car type ID is null or if it is blank, then what we want to do, we want to fetch all the cars available on the server. So this is what we are going to do in our init event. But let's say we have got the car type ID of uh, let's say sports or luxury category, then we want to use this car type ID as well in our SQL query. So that is how we are fetching the records from server, and it's giving us the list of car object records. So this is all about this server side controller. So from our uh, this helper function, again we need to pass our component reference as this is being used by our base component. Then we need to pass the server side function name. So the server side function name is get cars here, so that's what I'm passing here, get cars. Then we need to give a callback function as well. So in our callback function, what I want to do, if the response dot length is greater than 0, then I want to make this car found attribute as true. So if you go to our car search component markup, car search result component markup, so we have one attribute here, car found. So we want to make it true if we are getting the result from server. And the second thing is we want to load this list of cars uh, from from the response that we are getting from the server. So we want to load that response in our cars list here. So these are the two things that we are doing if we are getting the result from server. But let's say if the car does not exist or there is no result found from the server, then what we want to do, we want to make this boolean parameter as false. That's it. Now today we are going to pass the car type ID as well. So we did not pass the parameters to our server side controller till now, but today we'll be doing it. So let's open our base helper again. So what it is accepting four parameter, that is component, method, callback. We have already checked these three parameters, but today we'll be using our params attribute as well. So if you see here, I am passing the parameters as well from our inherited component or sub component. So what parameter I am passing? The parameter name should be same as your parameter name which is there on your server side controller. So this parameter name car type ID should be exactly same with this one that we are passing from our lightning component. And here I have given a hard coded value. We'll be removing this hard coded value once we'll implement our aura method, but for now I'm giving a hard coded value of maybe a luxury car type or sports car type. And what it will do, your base helper will accept this parameter here. It will see like there are parameters defined or passed by the inherited component. Then it will use the set params method here and set those parameters to our action call. The rest of the code will work same as that we have looked upon previously as well. So this is about the call server method, and this is how you can call it. Additionally, if you don't want to leverage inheritance here, so this is the line of code that you can directly use. You can give your set params here itself and you can handle the response like this. But if you want to use inheritance, then you need to use our base components call server function here. So if you complete these line of code, then what you need to then what are the changes that we need to make in rent a car application? So first of all, we need to include car search result as well in our rent a car application. So this is how you can do it. So previously we had only car search, or uh, before that we had only car search form, but yesterday we have implemented car search component as well, which is the parent component of car search form. So that's why we are having car search here. Along with that, we want to have car search result as well. Once you will have it, if you reload your application, then you should be able to see this kind of screen. So here you see we are getting four names here: Ford, Mustang, Mercedes Benz, Toyota, and Range Rover here. So how these values are coming? So as soon as your car search result component is loading, this init event is getting fired. In this init event, this helper function is getting executed. From here I am passing this hard coded value of our A sports car, I guess. Let's see which car type ID is this one, or maybe luxury car, I guess. Yeah. So we are passing this luxury car type ID. So all the cars which exist on the server and has a car type as luxury, our component should retrieve those and set the value in our cars list and make this car found attribute true. Once we do it, this particular line of code is getting executed, this or iteration is getting executed, and we are simply showing the name of the cars which are being retrieved from the server. So this is what we are doing now. Once we do it, what we want to do now, so instead of the car name, we want the uh, car images here, right? So how we can do that? Simply replace this car dot name here with your car tile component. So now what we are going to do, we will have a child component which is our car tile component that we implemented yesterday, and then we will be generating this car tile component and iterating over it. So based on the results fetched from the server, we will be passing this complete car attribute to our car tile. So let's have a look at our car tile component again. So this car type attribute, car type component has a attribute named as car, and we had a default uh, value set to it yesterday, and we displayed the car images as well. But today we will be passing this attribute from our parent component. How you can do that? Simply call this car tile component and specify the attribute value like this. So the attribute name is car. So this is the attribute name. So I'm defining car equals to the value of car which is I'm getting from this particular component. So here the value of car is car. Why am I not using exclamatory mark here? Why am I using hash mark? You already know the difference between those. One is unbound expression and the second one is bound expression. So if you use exclamatory, so if any by any chance if the car image gets changed in the backend, your component will refresh and it will automatically fetch the new car image on the UI. But since this is a heavy task and we do not, and it's not important to show the latest image on the UI, you can use the hash function here or hash keyword here, but it's totally up to you. Both of these will work. So if you include this line of code here, now refresh your component and let's see what do we see here. So now we are seeing the all the cars which all the luxury cars on our screen. So just by including this line of code, since we have already created the markup of it yesterday and we have already seen the output, today we are just reusing this component in our ORA iteration. So by simply doing this, we are seeing the output like this. So now what we need to do, once the user clicks on once the user selects a specific car type and click on the submit button, we want to display all those car images here. So if I'm selecting sports here, then that means only sports car should be visible here. If I want to select van here, that means only van should be visible on the screen. So that we'll be doing our further exercise now. So this is all about our car search result component. Do you guys have any questions? Okay. So now let me come back to our components here. So till now we have generated this UI, but now what we want to do, as soon as the user clicks on the search button or submit button, the cards belong to that particular car type ID should be visible here. So that, let's say luxury cars or sports car. How we can do that? So the event is already being fired from our car search form component that we implemented yesterday, and also it is already being handled by our car search component, and we have seen the event ID as well in our console log. So you see we are already receiving this selected car type ID here. Now what we need to do, we simply need to pass this car type ID to where, to our helper function here. So here we are hard coding this one, but we do not want to hard code it. and somehow we want to pass that car type ID here. So for that, what we can do? So this car search result helper is under this third component, which is car search result, and this is the child component of our car search component. So this is like we cannot use the events here to handle, we cannot, fire the event from car search and handle it in our car search result, because as I said yesterday, the events can only be handled by the parent component or the same component, if they are component event. So I cannot use the component event here. So what mechanism do I have to call the child component function here? So we will use the aura method here. So this enables you to directly call a method in a component's client side controller instead of firing and handling a component event. So if you have a aura method defined in your child component, you can directly call it from your parent component. Use aura method to communicate down to containment hierarchy. So yesterday we have seen how to move upwards in your hierarchy, but today we'll see how to call child components function as well. For example, a parent component calls an aura method on a child component that contains it, and it has three attributes. The aura method function has three attributes. First is your name, so the aura method name that we need to give. Second is your action. So action will have the controller side action name. So similar to our do init or on search actions. The third is access. So it can be either global or public. So now let's use your aura method and how to do that. Let's go back to our developer console. So where do we want our aura method to be? So let me close all these files again. So let's come back to our car search result component. So this is the component that we are talking about, third one. In this car search result component, we need to have a aura method which should be calling to our on search function, and it should be passing the car type ID here. So that's why we need to have aura method here. So let me get the aura method. Mm, I have simply written a aura method here. So if you read the definition, the comment that I've written here, so the aura method will be invoked by the parent component, which is our car search component, and it will pass the car type ID. The method will use car type ID to search all the cars from server which will with having the same car type ID. So that is the purpose of this one. So now again let's talk about the attributes of aura method. The name, so we have given the name of aura method is search cars. So this will be the name that we'll be using our parent controller to call this aura method. Second is action. So in action I have given the do search action. So we need to define this do search function in our controller file. We do not have it right now. Then the description also you can give, and the access. Now along with that, your aura method can accept the attributes as well. So it can accept multiple attributes of all those 12 types that we have seen in session 1. So which attribute that it should have? It should have a car type ID, which will be provided by our uh, car search component here, and then it will pass this car type ID to our own search function here. So once you declare it, now the second thing that you want to do, you want to define this do search function in your controller file. So let's write our do search function. I think I already have it in our controller file, but I have commented it. Yep. So let me uncomment it. Yeah. So this is our do search function. What we are doing in this one. So first of all, we are getting the argument list which is being passed to our aura method here. So by argument list, we want to get this car type id. So how we can do that? We can use the event reference here. So in our event, we can use the get param function. We have already used it once. So in our get param function, you need to give arguments here. You cannot change this one. So by argument means it will fetch all the arguments which is being passed to our aura method here. You cannot change it to arguments one or something else. It should be arguments only. So now since our params have all the argument which are being passed to our aura method, but in our case we only have one argument. So how we can get this car type id from that one? So from our params, you can simply use the dot operator and then the attribute name here. So attribute name was car type ID. So you use the dot operator to get this car type ID. Now what we want to do in our component, again we have a car type ID attribute as well. So we want to set this car type ID to the same which we have got from the aura method as well. So from in this line we are setting this car type id. Do not confuse with the same name. I can change it as well. Let me change it to car type id component here, and let we need to change it here as well. So this is where, so what we are doing, we are simply setting the value of this car type id component here uh, using the params of our aura method. So once we set this, we are again calling this on search function of helper method. We have not, so this is the best example to how we can use our helper to make your code reusable. So if you see from our do init method as well and do search method as well, we are calling the same on search function both from both of these function. So if you don't use the helper here, you need to write this line of code in both of these function here. So that's why I have created our helper file here, a helper function here, and I'm calling this from both the controller function. So now what we are doing here, so in our car type id, instead of hard coding this one, what we want to do, we want to uh, make it where is this, how we are passing it? Yeah. So what we want to do here, we want to get this component value here, this car type id component here. How we can get that? Simply use our component reference dot get, then our value provider and the component attribute name, sorry. This is how you can get the attribute value here. Once you get the attribute value, again our server will use this attribute value. And if you see, like, if the attribute value is not blank, or if it's not, let me include one more line of code here. Let me do one null check as well. So if our car type ID is not null, or if it's not blank, then it will come here and it will filter out the results with car type ID. So that is what we are doing here. We are passing the car type ID from here. So if it is being called from our doInit method here, so you see what we are doing, we are not passing this car type ID here. So it will go as blank, because by that time this car type ID will be blank. It does not have any value because default is blank. So in that case, it will fetch all the results from server and it will use this query. But as soon as you click on the submit button, it will only use the car type ID which is selected here, and then it will give you the filtered result instead of all the results. It's not getting saved. Why? Let me check my internet connection. You guys are able to hear me, right? Yeah, it got saved. Okay. So so this is all about the aura method. We have declared the aura method and we have also specified how to call our do search function. But how to, but now the again we need to see how we can call this aura method from our car search component here, because this car search component is having the selected id, selected car type id. This car search result does not have the car type id yet. It will have it once it will once that will be passed by car search component here. So let me go back to our car search component here. What we need to do once this do form submit action, we have created a console.log here, so which is showing us the car type ID. So what we want to do, we want to uh, call this aura method from here. So how we can do that? Let me write the code for this one. What we are doing here, so first of all we are you guys must be aware about this find function. So we use it to find a component from our component markup, which is being which is being uniquely identified using aura id. So let's go back to our component markup and see if we have defined any aura id here. We did not do it, right? So what is the use of this car search result here? So we need to give it give our, where's that one? Yeah, yeah. Okay. So we need to see from where we are getting this car search result here. So if you see this car search result, it is the it should be the aura id of our car search result component, which we will include in our car search markup here. So in our car search markup, we did not include this child component car search result. So if you go back to our component here, so this car search component is having two immediate child. One is your car search form and second is your car search result. We have already created the relationship with car search form yesterday. Today we need to create it for car search result as well. So how you can do that? So if you see here, we are only having this car search form here, but we need to have the car search result as well. So how you can do that? We let us create another lightning card here for matching cars, and we are giving it a aura id of car search result. So that is why we are using here component.find to uniquely identify your car search result here. Why do you want to uniquely identify it? Because your car search result component is having this aura method, and we want to call this aura method. To call it, we need to first uniquely identify it, like, okay, this is the component that I want to use, and this component is having my aura method that I want to call. So I have given this aura id here. I have got my component using component.find here. Now calling your aura method from here will be very easy. How you can do that? Let's check our aura function, aura method name here. It's search cars. So what you can do, you can simply use our reference of car search result component and use the dot operator and specify the aura method name. That's it. And after these braces, you need to provide the attribute values as well. So our aura method is accepting one attribute, which is car type id, so that we want to pass here. This need not to be same as the attribute name here. You can change it. So like if you can make it car type id 1 here and change it here, so it need not to be same as your attribute name here. But I have made those same, but let's make it car type id 1 here. So what it will do, it will call your search car aura method and it will pass the car type id here. And then let's see if we are able to get the results or not. We have already defined this do form submit button on the click of this submit button here. Where's our submit button? Car search. No, it's in car search form, right? Yeah. So we have already defined this submit button here, which is being handled in your car search here. So that is how your do search form submit is already being called, and we are seeing the car type ID here. Now refresh your app and let's see if it's working or not. So by default, now you see we are getting all the cards which exist on the server. And why we are seeing it multiple times? I am seeing it multiple times. So why so? Why we are getting these many results? So somehow what is happening? Somehow this do init method is being called twice. What I guess. Let me see the behavior in. So let's. It's good that we are seeing this behavior. Now we will debug it and we will identify the root cause of it as well. But before that, let's see if this is working or not. No, it's not working. It's saying car type ID is not defined. In our car search of component in the controller, we have this method do form submit where the car type ID is not defined. So let's see in our car search component, we have this function do form submit and it is saying this car type ID is not defined. Hmm, is it car type ID or car type ID one? Okay, let me s- see here. So what we need to see, we need to check if this card search form, yes, we already have it. So let's do one
Related to
thing.
console log, console.log, you're using car type ID. It should be car type ID1, right? Line number 6.
Oh yeah, oh thanks for identifying it. Yeah, I was about to debug it, but yeah, let's remove it then. Yeah, so this is why it is giving error because we have renamed our car type ID to car type ID1 here, but we have forgot to rename it here. So if you reload it and yeah, so we are getting the result here, but somehow we are also getting the results again here. So what could be the issue? Let me see in our rent a car application, maybe we have included it twice or first, okay, I got the issue. So what we are doing? So if you check our car search component here, it already has this car search result here, which is being included in our car search component. But apart from that, we have included it again in our rent a car application. So that's why it is showing up twice. So if you remove it from here in rent a car application and save it, we should be able to see it only once. Yep. So we are seeing the results only once. And if you click on any of the car type, we are seeing those car type results here. See, it's working now. Okay. So, so any question in Aura method, please do ask. Okay. So we have completed this exercise Aura method. Along with that, we have also completed our car search component exercise as well. Since we have already included our uh, car search result in our car search component here. Again, yeah. Now let's see what remains for today. Yeah, ternary operator. So what is ternary operator? So it's like handling your if else condition in a single statement. So that is the purpose of your ternary operator. So what you can do, you can define a condition of if the condition is true, then the statement which is after the question mark gets executed. If the condition is false, then the statement which is after this colon mark gets executed. So just to give an example, so let's say we have an attribute called selected, boolean attribute called selected. So if the boolean the selected is true, then two classes will be applied, tile and selected. These are the two classes will be applied. But if it is false, then the code which is after the colon mark will get executed and only one class will be applied here, tile. So this is what I've written here as well. So if it's true, then apply style sheet tile and select it. If it is false, then apply the style sheet tile here. So we will use this ternary operator inside our expressions today. Okay, use of ternary operator. So where we can use our ternary operator? So anything, the any uh, bug or that you can identify from this application as of now. So if you click on a car, you see it's not getting highlighted. We are not highlighting that car till now. So what we need to do, we need, once we click on a car, we need to apply a style sheet to that car, that, and we need to create a blue border around that car so that we see like, okay, this particular car is selected. So for that, we need to go to our car tile component, and if you see, by default I have given the class as style. So if you give it another class which is selected, these are not standard classes. We have defined it in our style sheet here. So if you see, this tile, inner tile, low third, and selected, these are the classes that we have defined here. So if I, along with tile, if I give selected as well here, then it should apply both selected and tile class here. So if I do it like this way, now what will happen, all the cards will show up like this, and we should see the blue border around every one of them. So what we want to achieve here, so if I click on a card, then only this blue border should appear, and for the rest of the cards it should not be the same case. So we need to somehow play with these classes conditionally, and then we need to define these classes based on our uh, selection. So first of all, we need to create a attribute here, boolean attribute. Let me create the boolean attribute here. So this will be the, yeah, so this is the boolean attribute. The default is false. And now what we are going to do, we are going to use our ternary operator here, and then we will be defining using these classes based upon this attribute here. So how you can do that, we will be using our expression here. So to use our expression, we need to start and close the parentheses, and then we need to use either exclamatory or hash. I'm using exclamatory because this should fetch the new result every time when the classes are changing. Now here I'll be using this attribute here. So if the attribute value is false, so then if the attribute value is true, then the code that we will define after this exclamatory mark or this question mark should get executed. So we'll give our classes name here like this, and then we'll give the else condition as well. So we'll use colon for that, and in the else condition we will give only one class, style. And let's save it. Let's refresh our application and observe the output. Now you see all of these are having none of these are having the blue border because the default is false. Now what we need to do, we need to somehow find out which car is being selected, and at the same time we need to make every other car as non-selected. So for that, what we need to do, let's come back to our component list here. How we can do that? So our car tile component will be the, so we'll be firing a event from our car tile component, since this is the component which is holding the image and everything. So as soon as we click on the car tile component, we need to fire a event which will be handled by our parent component, which is our car search result component. And this car search result component already has the list of all the cars. So what it will do, it will get the id from this event, and what it will do, it will find the car among the car list with the id, and it will apply the, it will pass the selected attribute as true or false based on the id which is being supplied here. So if let's say I am clicking on this Ford Mustang car, I'll be passing the id as well along with the in the event. Now my car search result will iterate over each and every car, and it will find the id, and once it will find the id, then it will pass the selected attribute as true, else it will pass it as false. So if it will be false, then we will be seeing these kind of borders, but if it will be true, then we will be seeing a blue border as well. So let's do that. For that we need to create uh, another component event today. So how we can do that? Again, we need to go your file and then your lightning event, and then you can give your event name here. For me, I already have it. Let me close these files first. Open lightning resource. So I should be having a event card select. Let me open this event. So what this event is doing, this event will be fired by car tile component to notify the parent component car search result about car selection change. The car search result component will handle the event and do the processing accordingly. The event will supply a car ID, which I was telling about, attribute to be passed, which can be used by the parent component, which is car search result component, to identify the current selection. So once you create your event, again you will be seeing application here, uh, but we want to change it to component event, since this is a component event. And then you need to define an attribute here about car ID. The type should be ID. You can give it string as well. Both will work here. So once you create your event, what you need to do, we need to follow the same steps to fire an event. So first of all, first we need to register the event. So what we did yesterday, we registered a event in our car search form component. So the same thing we'll be doing our with our car tile component. So first thing, we need to register the event, this car select event here. Let's register the event, and let's give the name as car select, and this name you can give anything that you want. Now we need to fire this event as soon as we click on this lightning colon button, or as soon as we click on this uh, car image. So till now this lightning colon button does not have the on click attribute, so we need to define the on click attribute here, and then we need to give the action name as well. So for me it's on car click. Now we need to create a on car click action in your controller file as well, which is already there but it's blank. So now what we need to do in this on car click function, we need to fire this event, and also we need to supply the current selected car type car ID as well. So let's get the code for that. So how you can get the current selected car? So since this is a car tile component, we can simply use the attribute car here. And how to get that? Using the get method here. Once you'll get the car, you can get the ID as well using the car dot ID, simply dot operator, since this car is a as object type attribute. Uh, this create car select event, these lines will create a event called car select and pass the required car ID field. We will fire the event using this fire function, and this will be handled by car search result component. So what we are doing, we are simply creating the event, we are passing the parameter using set params. We did the same steps yesterday as well, and we are passing the car ID here, and then we are firing the event. Once you do that, we want to make sure this event is being handled by our cars search result component here. So till now this event, this component is not handling any uh, event here, so we need to handle the event, this car select event. So let's handle that one. So again we will use our aura colon handler to handle this on car select event. We need to give the event name as same as it is, which is like car select, and then here we can define the action which should be executed when we will handle this car select event. Save it. Now we need to define this on car select in our controller file here. So we do not have our own car select as of now. Let's get that. So now what this on car select is doing, it's simply setting. So uh, what we need to do, as soon as we click on this car, we will go back to our parent component, which is car search result. And this parent component should have a attribute called selected car id. Let me make sure we have that attribute. We do not have this attribute, so we need a attribute to hold the current selected car id. So we need to create a attribute here. Let's create a attribute to hold this value for us. So this is the selected car id. So we need to make sure that we are changing the selected car id in our on car select here. So we'll get the event parameter, which is car id, this car id, and we will set that car id to our component attribute selected car id. Once we do that, now what changes we do know we need to make. So we need to make sure that when we are iterating over all these cars, we are checking about the this selected car id attribute is same as our car id. So this cars list will be like, let's say we have got 8 cars in our list. So we will be checking like which car is having the same id as our selected car id, and only on that car we'll be passing this attribute. So we have declared another attribute and car tile component, this one selected. So we will be passing the selected as true from here. Till now we were only passing this car attribute value. Now we will be passing the value of car selected as well. So again we can use our ternary operator here, just to make sure that how we can make sure like the current selected car id should have this selected as true and the rest of them should have false. So what we can do, we have our temporary operator, temporary variable here. We will use this one. We'll get the car id using dot operator, and then we will make sure this car id is equals to our selected car id here. How we can do that? We will use our value provider like this. So now this statement will either give us true or false. So if the selected car is same as the car we are iterating over, then what we need to do, we need to pass true here. Else what we need to do, we need to pass false here. This is what we need to do. Since this is boolean attribute, we can simply pass true and false here. We do not need to use the string here. Let's save this and let's check our code again. Hopefully it should work. Let me make sure if all the files are saved. Let me reload the page. Yep. So if you now what you see, if you click on any of the car, that particular car is having a blue border, and at the same time we are clearing the blue border from the previous car as well. So if I make change my selection to the second car, it should clear the selection from the first one and create a blue border around the second car. So this is being handled by our aura iteration, and we are using our selected car id here. So today's uh, session is kind of like overview of our previous session as well, and we have also learned aura method here. Hopefully it was not too much for you guys. We have completed this car search component. We did not wait for it, and this is also completed now. So let's see the sneak peek of session 8. We'll be having an introduction to lightning data services. uh, Please, this is the again is very interesting topic. So using lightning data services, we will be uh, getting the data, fetching the data from server without even writing our apex classes. And then we will be seeing the application events as well. So till now we have only seen component events, but tomorrow we'll be seeing our application events as well. So these are the two topics we'll be covering tomorrow. If please, if you guys have any question, please do ask. So this is all about today. See you guys. Bye bye.